With my boy Ghost here. What's up, Ghost? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm good, man. I do these or I'm trying to start doing these on like Friday. Um, I want, you guys to come in and talk about this kind of stuff, talk about fighting and such. Um, you know, this is just kind of a little informal chat. We could talk about UFC. We could talk about wrestling. We can talk about whatever you want, dude, because I like you and you know what you're talking about, man.
hmm Yeah, I think we should start with the main event that's happening in England this Saturday.
Yeah, Leon Edwards and Sean Brady. It's
Mm.
it's a weird fight to be fair. It was supposed to be Leon Edwards and Jack Della. Jack Della obviously, had to take the Bilal Muhammad fight because what's his name was hurt. Shavkat Rakhmonov. So yeah, I get it. Sean Brady stepping in on short notice is something short-ish notice. That's something I don't think a lot of people are talking about, man. Give me your initial thoughts on this though.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Della Maddalena versus Leon Edwards, that would have been a banger because that
Oh
would have
gosh.
forced Leon. That would have forced Leon to actually fight because Jack actually goes to the body a lot
Yeah.
and he has good pressure along the fence. And I think that would have been more interesting than this matchup. But yeah, overall, I think it's an okay main event. It's an okay fight night main event. I mean, it is what it is, right? As Max Holloway says.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like my like technical reads. So like for Brady, when I was watching the Bilal fight, like today, this
Mm-hmm.
morning, and then I
Gotcha.
noticed right away that Brady backs up like as soon as Bilal starts to show level change feints and as soon as he pumps out the jab, and you can tell right away that Sean Brady hates being pushed back and pressured. Like when he's getting pressured, he really looks uncomfortable. And the only thing that he's looking for when he's getting pressured is that counter left hook. And then whenever Bilal pumps out the jab, it makes him susceptible to getting drawn out. And
Right.
what's really interesting in that fight, especially like concerning this fight with Leon, is whenever Bilal goes southpaw, like the rear straight to the chest lands on Brady, like anytime he wanted to throw it. Like the few times Bilal went southpaw and he threw the rear straight to the chest, it was there all day. So his only means of like getting Bilal back was like for Brady, like his only means to like diffuse that pressure that Bilal was putting on him was to double jab, or like what's gonna play into like what Leon does is
Right.
blitz blitz in with like a 1-2, like with his chin up in the air, and that's really dangerous against Leon because of his clinch entries and his clinch breaks, especially with the elbows. And I noticed a lot of the defense that Brady does is to lean back in response to jabs, which is really, really bad against the southpaw because I think you know the Dan Tom saying, right? The death, taxes, and southpaw or wrestle boxers dipping to the power side. Sean Brady dips to the power side a lot, and that's against orthodox fighters. So it's going to be even more dangerous for him to do that against Leon since Leon's a southpaw and he likes to throw that rear high kick.
Yeah.
And another
Yeah.
thing Dan Tom mentioned in his breakdown at MMA Junkie is that um, Leon throws a lot of kicks, and Brady is really good at catching and converting them into takedowns. So yeah, so that's my look on the Brady side of things. What about you?
Yeah, so you're a little bit more technical than I am with it. You're obviously scout and all that, but my biggest concern here it's like I fully believe Leon Edwards is a better fighter than Sean Brady through and through. Even he's got the fancy 17-1 record and stuff. But like, let's be honest, dude. Like everybody gave him credit for the Colby Covington fight. Like that was a boring fight. The Bilal Muhammad, he didn't know what to do with the pressure of Bilal Muhammad in that fight. And yeah, everybody talks about how they were talking this week about how it's kind of like it was a close scorecard. Well, I forget what the score ended up being, 48 whatever. It was like what 3 rounds to two for Muhammad, if I remember correctly. But what I saw in that Covington fight and that Bilal Muhammad fight is a Leon Edwards who likes to constantly be at the perfect position. So I feel like he overthinks his offensive attack a lot. And against Colby Covington, somebody that overthinks his offensive attack a lot and just going to run for it and run at you with his head down, that worked fine for him because he could reset, he could land the strikes when he wanted. But against Bilal Muhammad, somebody who's going to come in and he's going to he did Bilal did a really good job of really just staying in the pocket, staying close with Leon Edwards. So my question really is it going into this fight is Leon Edwards at a point in his career to where he's overthinking things, and if so, can Sean Brady exploit that? So like, can Sean Brady actually take time and do tape study and see what Bilal Muhammad did good and what Kamaru Usman did bad to get himself caught in that first fight? Because like you said, he's going to dip to the power side of the southpaw. That opens up that high kick, and that's a freaking disaster waiting to happen. So, Sean Brady's only been knocked out once. That was what in 2022. I'm looking at. Since then, he's fought Gastelum and Burns. Not the biggest heavy hitters, but I don't know where Edwards' headspace is in this fight, and I feel like that's the biggest question going in. Is like it's not tactical. Like, hey, he can exploit the dip like you're mentioning. For me, it's more it's woo woo almost like, hey, is he going to be mentally prepared for this fight? And I don't know if he is, man. I don't know if that Bilal fight's going to break him mentally because after we see a lot of times after champions lose the title, we see a lot of the time that hey, that's the end of them. They're gonna 4 or 5 losses in a row now, and I hope we don't see that with Leon Edwards. He's young, ish, 33. So I hope we don't see it. But then again, who knows?
Yeah, so you mentioned like he likes to go to the perfect distance in order to set up his kicks, right? And he struggled a lot of that against Bilal.
Yeah,
But the thing is, like Jack Slack and Ryan Wagner mentioned this, like Leon really struggles when you methodically pressure him. Like not like frantic pressure like Covington does, but Covington didn't really pressure in that fight, but like methodical pressure, like slow pressure where you constantly walk up to him and then he needs to correct the distance and that often makes him like run back
yeah,
in a line and he often gets to the fence. Now, I'm not sure if that's a mental thing cuz I think that's just part of his style because he's been doing that since,
the
or
first.
yeah, he's been doing that since the first Usman fight, right? Or
Well,
since
I
he went on.
think he kind of adapted the whole clinch fighting and all that after the Usman loss, the first Usman loss. Kind of, oh, this is what I'm gonna have to beat one day. So I feel like that's kind of where he started to evolve, really.
Yeah, so like, because if you really think about what Leon's game is it's kicks at distance and it's reactive clinch entries. He's not really like that. He's never been that like stand in the pocket and trade or like force long exchanges. He's usually the one controlling the engagements, right? He's
Right,
never, yeah. He's so I don't think like in my opinion, I don't think that's really like a mental thing for him because like I think that's more of a stylistic thing for Leon than it is like him mentally like moving forward, right?
right. I feel like a lot of the times it's if I can't start this exchange on my terms, I want nothing to do with it.
Right. And he often gonna reset or circle out. Like he's not really going to he's not really like he doesn't like the exchange, he's just gonna disengage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he like when Bilal like if you compare the first Bilal fight with the second Bilal fight, like he was having a field day because Bilal would like sprint at him, and then
hmm
when Bilal would defend, he'd sprint really far back.
Now,
If you notice that, I don't.
I'll be honest with you. I've watched every Bilal fight one time. and
Mhm.
that's when they happen. I don't make a habit of going back. I probably should have watched it before this, but let me ask you this: have you gone back and watched the Usman fights with Leon, the last two recently?
Yes, I have. The second one, I thought like even though like it was obvious that Leon gassed before
Right,
the head kick, he was doing a really good job uh controlling the clinch along the fence or like I don't know if you guys know, but me and Jesse from Cagecraft we do a podcast about like things that are not discussed in MMA that much, and one of them was
right,
fence wrestling.
right.
And what Leon did well in the second Usman fight was that he would do a lot of clinch counter control stuff along the fence. Like even though like it's really boring to the casual viewers, like he would do a lot of like small like pummel for underhooks, get the cross wrist, and then feed it, and then try to turn Usman. I thought he did a really good job in that fight along the fence. Even though he was losing those exchanges, he I thought it was I thought the stuff that he did was really like really crafty.
You said the second Leon fight.
Yeah, the one at
That's
altitude.
that's the okay. So yes, the high
Yeah,
kick one, the knockout. Okay, just
yeah.
wanted to make sure. So let me ask you this now: in that second fight, did you see a lot? Not I don't want to say methodical because I feel like Usman's kind of a slow plotting pressure fighter.
Mhm.
Did you see that as part of why Leon Edwards had such a hard time with him as well in that fight? That Usman's gonna stay in your face. He's gonna throw these long looping shots, sure, but he's gonna stay in your face and he's looking for the clinch the entire time. Kind of like what Bilal did, but Bilal incorporated maybe a little bit more boxing in it, possibly.
Yeah, I think so because Usman, like when in that fight, you said like plotting pressure, right?
Yeah,
But the thing with that, like we also have to understand that Leon wasn't like moving as well as he did in the third one, right?
true. Yeah, yeah. I remember that him a lot of lateral movement and punching at exchanges that in transition and stuff. That was incredible, actually.
Yeah, like in the second fight at altitude, it looked like whenever Leon didn't like an exchange, he would just stop.
Yeah,
If you notice that in this third fight, when he didn't like an exchange, he like fake one way, go the other way, and then commit to another, and then commit to the opposite side and like circle or pivot out.
right.
So I think that was the difference between the first and second fights. Because if you notice in the third fight or in the second and third fight, because if you notice in the third fight, Leon would like he'd draw Usman in, and then he'd like throw either like a low kick, body kick, or a high kick, and then like right away he'd circle out. Like right away he tried to take the middle of the cage,
Right,
and that wasn't really evident in the second fight.
right. So I was going to go somewhere with that. We mentioned the third fight with Edwards. A lot of lateral, a lot of circling, and changing directions quick. I feel like Usman's shattered knees was a big part of that too. He can't really he can't turn fast. So Leon going left, then right, then left again, and kind of finding small pot shots in the middle. Usman literally couldn't follow him because his knees wouldn't let him, and I think that was kind of a part of it too.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody with short knees gonna have trouble with lateral movement, and doesn't help that Leon would throw those side kicks to the knee
Oh,
to to buckle his stance,
I
right?
was calling for that ever since I heard that first Rogan episode where he was like, "I walk upstairs backwards, I walk on grass." I'm like, why? Why would you first of all say that, and then why wouldn't anybody he fought, Colby Covington specifically, just go ham on the low kicks on the knees like that? That seems like a no brainer. But then again, we're talking MMA fighters and Colby Covington here, so maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think so. And like you mentioned, Usman was throwing like looping shots, not or wasn't like it's still slow, methodical pressure that forced him to reset. But it
Hmm.
seemed like Edwards was more like sharp in that fight than he was with Bilal. Because Bilal, if you think about it, Bilal did something similar, but
Hmm.
he would pump out the jab multiple times.
Yeah, yeah, it
And
was a lot.
yeah, and whenever he pumped out the jab, like Leon really had to move faster than he normally did. Because with Usman, he could take his time, right?
Right,
With Bilal, because of the jab that was in his face the entire time, he had to constantly circle out.
Right.
So I think that was a big factor. And the good thing about Brady is that he does throw the double jab,
Right.
but I don't know if he can. I don't know if Brady can use that like to his advantage, where he's driving Leon back to the cage multiple times. If you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. I think Leon has to be comfortable with getting into the pocket with somebody. He
Mhm.
like we said, he likes to kick at range against Sean Brady. First of all, if he ever wants to even sniff the title again, like this fight can't be boring, much less lose, right? Like
Right.
he has to go out there and finish Sean Brady. It's not going to get him the next title shot because you still got Shavkat, who Bilal's probably going to fight after Jack Della if he beats Jack Della, right?
Right.
Um, but like this has to be an exciting fight. So Leon Edwards can't go out there if he wants to ever sniff a title again and put on one of the typical Leon Edwards performances, which gets the job done, and he probably should do. But at the same time, he has to weigh like, am I ever going to fight Bilal again? Because Bilal's just going to keep saying no. Then fine. But I think what Sean Brady needs to do here, first of all, I mean, it's what 2 days before or a day before the fight, not even maybe 12 hours. Like he has to have already been tape studying this fight to see what Bilal Muhammad did because, like on paper, Leon Edwards is the perfect fighter for this welterweight division that had Covington, Usman, Bilal Muhammad, Sean Brady, even like Shavkat Rakhmonov. Leon Edwards is an interesting stylistic matchup for. He has to go out there and change things up. He has to be aggressive. He's going to need to go out there and get a finish and make a statement that, hey, I'm still a really tough son of a gun. And Bilal Muhammad, I'm undeniable. Like, there's no way you can say, oh, after I fight Shavkat, I'm fighting, somebody else. It's got to be me. But like Brady, like I feel like we've been talking about Leon this whole time. Sean Brady, he's no slouch, man. Um, Danny Jalil just said he thinks Leon Edwards is going to knock out Sean Brady. I don't know. I don't know. You everybody thinks about the Usman fight, but like go look at his record. Decision
Not a
with
knockout
Donaldson.
artist.
Go ahead.
He's not a knockout artist.
No, not at all. His second best knockout was Bilal Muhammad's eye poke. dude, I remember watching that live and like hearing Bilal Muhammad like whimper on the ground. And I've never like there's like 2 points in fighting history that I've been like uncomfortable watching fights. First one was like those the three leg breaks, McGregor, Weidman, and Anderson Silva. Like that was so uncomfortable. And then the Bilal Muhammad like whimpering on the ground. He had his first fight was the fast that 8 second KO in 2015. That's oh man, Denis,
Ooh.
that's 10 years ago, buddy.
I guess that's
Literally.
why people think he's a striker, or that's why he's like a elite, or he is an elite striker. But people think he's a knockout artist because of the Usman KO and that, right?
Right. I wouldn't call him a knockout artist. I think he's a great fighter. You know, just he's not a fighter that's going to get a lot of finishes. Unfortunately, I don't think. I think he's more or less going to do his cage fight, which his cage fighting, like that's the basis for the future of MMA. If we're going to beat Dagestani wrestlers, you're either going to have to be a fantastic wrestler or B fight like Leon Edwards. He's a better striker than Brady is a better grappler. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know though. Sean Brady has a lot to prove this fight. But I'll be honest, Ghost, like him getting knocked out by Bilal Muhammad.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, Bilal doesn't knock out anybody.
I'm pulling up Bilal right now. I want to see something. Bilal has 5 wins by KO. Sean Brady, you notice long silence, right? He had a
Yeah,
ground,
you're looking for his next finish, right?
yeah, ground and pound in 2016 against Augusto Montano. Ground and pound in 2016 against Steve Carl. So, like, getting knocked
9
out,
years.
yeah, getting knocked out by Bilal Muhammad on the feet. Ah, man,
Yeah.
like that. Denis might be right, man. Like Jack Dillon might. I mean, not Jack Dillon. I'm looking at him on the name. Leon Edwards might go out there and like ice him, and then everybody's gonna be swearing he's a knockout artist for the next 5 years again.
Yeah, but in Brady's case, I think the like you mentioned this earlier, right? Leon's fence wrestling is like top tier, right?
Yeah, he's the prototype for beating Dagestan.
So I think that's where this fight, like at least for me, this is where the fight is interesting. Along the fence or out in the open, because if you notice when Leon gets taken down out in the open, he has almost no sense of urgency. When
Yeah,
he gets taken down against the fence, he is almost back up immediately, right? It
right.
didn't matter if it was Usman or Covington. Along the fence, he's almost up, like he's almost up the moment he gets taken down, and he's
Yeah,
back in the clinch. In open space, that's where he has like in the second or yeah in the second Bilal fight when he got taken down at the middle of the cage, he had like it took him almost like the whole round to get back up.
yeah,
So I think that's a really important like thing to look at in this matchup because like when he's playing guard, he's not as effective as he's not threatening any stand ups when he's in guard, which I think is interesting because what Brady does, like with his clinch takedowns, is he's really good at taking people away from the fence. So that's something that matches up with Leon. I don't
right.
know if you agree with me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. If you can get him, because we've seen this whole meta of like wrestling. I think who was it? Was it JD or was it Open Note that did the
It was
article
open
about
note. Yeah,
huh
it was open note.
about wrestling away from the cage, using the cage to get to the takedown and pull it away?
Mhm.
I'm looking at just stats on Sean Brady. The height and speed difference is going to be crazy. Sean Brady's not super slow, is he? With his hand speed, huh?
I don't think so. I mean, he shouldn't be. I mean, if he is, that means that there's bigger problems there.
Yeah, for real. I'm just looking at stats though. Like he took Gilbert Burns down almost at will, and Gilbert Burns is no Leon Edwards, but he knows his way around a clinch. Yeah, he had 7 takedowns for him and only 10 minutes of control time. So if we're talking about like against the fence takedowns and stuff, he's only racking up 10 minutes of control time on 7 takedowns. I feel like that bodes well for Leon.
Hmm.
I feel like that bodes well for Leon. Like, oh, you're gonna take me down against the fence. We already know he gets up quick against Kamaru Usman, and even Bilal he did okay getting up against. Once he was when he was on the fence, it was just the volume of it, 9 takedowns. So I think that bodes well for him. I think you're spot on though, Ghost, about he almost concedes the round, kind of. And if he can get up, like when you take him down in the middle of space, um, that he almost concedes the round, like, oh, this is it, I'm done. We'll wrap it up, kind of like Usman did with him when he took Usman down.
Right.
Um,
And
go
oh
ahead.
yeah, my bad. Yeah, yeah. So like when he could, I think he concedes the round because I don't think he wants to give up his back when
Oh yeah,
or this is just a theory, but when he's taken down in the middle of the cage, I don't think he wants anything to do with people on his back. Because
right,
I mean that's the purpose of the wall. Like when you get to the wall, you don't give up your back. So
right,
that might be one of the issues there. Like I don't think he's comfortable like playing the front headlock game from bottom or turtling.
right. That's all I do in jiu-jitsu is turtle, bro, because I'm terrible. I'm
Turtling,
getting
bro.
okay, dude. I'm getting okay at like sitting out on it and stuff now. I was doing it the other day. I'm like, what? I did it. Or just grabbing a leg. I did. I grabbed a leg the other day from Turtle. Dude was on my head pushing me down. Grabbed his leg. I changed the angle. I'm like, what? I just did a wrestle.
so So I think this is an important thing to mention, like before we move on to the co-main, is
Yeah,
the clinch between
yeah,
these two. Because the way these two clinch are completely different than like when you compare these two, the way these two clinch, they're very different. Like
mhm,
Brady, he likes to rely on the high underhook and he wants to drive people to the fence. And
yeah,
again, shout out to Open Note who made like a big study on this, but when Brady has his opponent to the fence, he'll start to use outside trips and he'll use the underhook to turn the opponent to set up those trips.
right,
On the other hand, Leon, I think all the analyst nerds know about this, but Leon relies on the overhook thigh pry and
right,
the
right,
bite. high to get hip separation, and he uses that to land knees. And then when his opponent starts to dig for an underhook on the overhook side, he'll
Hmm.
break with an elbow. And then when they're in the regular over under and he doesn't have any advantages like the overhook pry, he'll use off balancing techniques like the outside foot sweep or Sasai Suri Komiyashi in judo. And
Right.
when it fails, he'll get to the front headlock, and he likes to be the one doing the front headlock, not being front headlocked.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think the clinch is. I think that's like the last important part of this fight that's interesting because like we get the strike, like we've already gone through like the range striking, we've gone through the wrestling, and the in between is the clinch, right?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah,
Do you think everybody's gonna be mad after this fight?
like as in it's gonna be boring
Yeah.
eventually
I
because it's
think.
Leon, right?
Yeah, it's gonna. And they're gonna all blame Leon now. He's gonna get the. Even though Sean Brady's probably gonna press him into the fence and let Leon do his thing, but I think it's gonna be a very boring fight.
Yeah, hopefully it's not. I mean, it
Well,
might
from
not
what
be
you
it
you,
might
it's
not be
not. It's
because I get to see all the cool clinch stuff along the
right.
fence if they do that stuff if it does play along the fence, but like as in like high octane pocket boxing, I don't think that's what the fans should expect for Leon versus Sean Brady.
So wait, are you telling me what was that fight a couple weeks ago? Julian Marquez and who else?
And
Who did
Julian
you? Who did he lose to recently? Julian Marquez and Cody Brundage. We're not gonna get another one of those.
oh no.
Ah,
Oh, man.
oh, that was such a good fight, though, bro. What do you mean? Post the McMahon
Oh,
tweet.
oh my goodness. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, I seriously doubt we're look at that. Look at that type of nonsense.
Oh man. So yeah, let's move on to the co-main, dude, since you mentioned it. Jan Blachowicz and Carlos Ulberg are fighting. Blachowicz coming after almost a 2-year layoff. He was scheduled to fight, Alexander Rakic, which was a fairly interesting fight. But he had what was it, a shoulder injury, I believe. Yeah, shoulder injury. Ulberg is the new kid on the block, and if this his age of 34 doesn't tell you the state of light heavyweight, I don't know what will. But Ulberg's actually kind of interesting. I enjoy Carlos Ulberg, and as weird as he is, I enjoy Jan Blachowicz. So at 42, like, do you think he even after this almost 2-year layoff, do you think he even has a shot at doing
Ooh,
his thing? It's
ooh,
weird.
you just mentioned the shoulder surgery, right? That's I mean, this is what people don't understand in matchups. Like injuries are a big deal, like especially in scouting.
Right.
Like when I'm looking like injuries are a big deal because you don't know how they're gonna respond to the rehab and whether they'll be at strength by the time that you get to the fight itself. So like a 2-year layoff, that's a long time for for Blokovich to be out.
And let's be
So
honest, he's 40. Your body doesn't recover the same when you're 40.
right, exactly.
You know.
So yeah, that's something that I didn't consider that when I was taping this, but yeah, I mean
Well,
his last fight was against Alex Pereira, right?
yeah, yeah,
In
uh,
altitude.
yeah. Have you thought about this? Have you ever watched him punch
Yeah,
Jan
and it's
Blachowicz?
it's yeah, and it's his mechanics are horrendous because he's using his shoulders to
I'm about to say, does it surprise you his shoulder eventually went out?
well now yeah, not anymore.
Like it was a matter of time, my man. And it's injuries do matter, and eventually, like your body's not going to be able to keep up. And
Mhm.
I made fun of Nate Wilcox on the MMA Draw newsletter the other week. No, I did it this week because last week I posted my poll who's going to win Vittori or Dolidze, and he told me I picked Vittori. I'm like, go look at the picks. I picked Dolidze because Marvin Vittori hadn't fought in 2 years. Activity matters too, and when you're 40 years old, you don't fight often because you're injured. I really have a hard time thinking you're going to come back and be the weird fighter you are. But if any fighter can do it, it is the weird oddity that is Jan Blachowicz.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you there because
He's so
but
weird.
the thing is he's gonna need to change his punching mechanics though, right?
Well, no, he's got a brand new shoulder now. He doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, well, we don't know if that shoulder's gonna hold up, do we?
You're right. You're right. I mean, you pull a John Jones the key lock that he did to Glover Teixeira, and that shoulder might be donezo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, or maybe on the first punch,
Oh no!
on the
Th-
first punch on Olberg's guard.
Does
That'd be
he
horrible.
does he does he do full TJ like my shoulders out? I'm done.
Oh, might be,
Cool.
but like, yeah, that's yeah. I mean, he's 42 years old.
That's a long time, man. That is a long
And
time to fight and put your body through that. And it's not even the age that bothers me. It's the recovery at 42 years old. See, I'm only 35, and I used to be like a superhero. Like, man, I recover from ankle sprains like that. I'm good. But now, bro, like if I stay up past 9:30, I'm in full like recovery mode the next day. Ice bath, sauna, the whole protocol. You know what I mean?
yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, I didn't think about that like when taping this, like Blachowicz' health. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely something to look at.
So let's
And
take that out of
yeah,
the equation, though, because that's I mean,
yeah,
we can't. Well, that's no fun. First of all, let's talk about
right.
the matchup itself, because like it is an interesting fight. Like Ulberg is a very good kickboxer. He's a former kickboxer. He's city kickboxing, but he's kind of like the Justin Gaethje of city kickboxing, to where it's like, yeah, he's got all these great people around him, but he just doesn't always listen.
Yeah, I mean, so Olberg, we all know what he wants to do. Like this isn't rocket science. He just wants to hook off the jab, right? That's all he wants to do. He wants to hook off the jab and he wants to circle out and throw low kicks, kind of like Izzy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's his training partner. That's it.
But like, if we dig deeper though, like so I'm looking at this like if I'm so like when I tape things, I usually look at it as if I'm the other guy, how am I scouting for it, right? So I'm
Right.
looking for weaknesses and tendencies. So for Olberg, what I noticed in the Uzdemir fight specifically is he's extremely susceptible to low kicks because
Yeah.
when he's in the pocket, he's often bladed and he likes to hang around the pocket and lean back with his jab. Like right after he jabs,
Right.
he doesn't like complete like you know how Ilya Topuria like when he throws his jab like he'll take a full dip and then he'll leave the pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So with Olberg, when he throws his jab, he'll leave it out there and then he'll lean back to his rear foot. Like he'll put his weight on his rear foot.
Right.
So that's why you see him like getting cracked with right hand sometimes because like he'll throw his lazy jab out there with a right hand like as he's moving his head back. So
For his
so
flaws though, for his flaws, Volkan Ozdemir is a bit of a crafty fighter. He has some really good ideas sometimes.
yeah, yeah, agreed. So and when you do lean back like that, you leave your lead leg out there, and because his lead leg bladed, Uzdemir was able to low kick him like almost at will.
Right.
So yeah, so with Olberg, Olberg's weird because he actually has similar looks to Adesanya, where like so we know what the city kickboxing guys do, right? They
Yeah.
rear hip feint and they shoulder feint,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right? And then they build off they build a foundation from using the jab and using the low kick, and then building the threat of those two ideas, and then building offense from there.
Right.
But unlike Izzy or unlike Adesanya, Adesanya wants his opponent to just stay still and then like react in place, like parry and like lean back. That's what Adesanya wants, and then Adesanya can tee off on him with like his sharp leads, like his jab and his low kick, or like in his southpaw stance, his his left leg body kick and his question mark kick. Now, where he's different from Olberg is that Olberg's more of a counter striker.
Right.
Like he's trying to get the opponent charging at him so he can land his lead hook.
You remember
Right?
when Alonzo Minifield literally ran into the fence against him?
Right. He didn't he just showed his jab and then he just ran into the fence, right?
Like head first, top of his head hits the fence.
Great job, Pat Barry.
That's the only Louisiana fighter I don't claim. Him and Andrea Lee.
Yeah, so yeah, I think for Olberg, his cagecraft isn't that great. Like there's multiple times in the Uzdemir fight where he actually just backs himself onto the cage. And then when he tries to circle out, it's too late. It's not like Izzy, who, when Izzy backs up, he knows when to circle out, right?
Right,
So
right,
I think like because Olberg and Izzy, they often get like compared. I think there's actually like a big difference if you look in closely, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know if Blokovich can do this, but he's going to need to pressure methodically. Like not like what we said for the main event. Like for Blokovich
Whoa.
to win this, he needs to slowly pressure behind his jab, his body jab, and like feint Olberg to the fence. Because Olberg will get there on
Right,
his own.
right, right. Sorry, I was just I'm watching NCAA's and Ohio State's Jesse Mendez just upset Penn State's guy,
Oh
and
snap!
yeah, Penn State's like dominating, and this is a huge one. Anyway, sorry, yeah, there is a big difference. Olberg is a lot more comfortable with his one tool. Like Izzy's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. And Olberg, like you said, he's hooking off the jab. He's going to back himself up if he wants because he knows, hey, if I put my weight on my back foot, this lead hook's going to find its home. Um,
Right.
Normally, like if it Jan Blachowicz, normally I'm like you got to be a little bit better than that to beat Jan Blachowicz because Blachowicz back in the day, he, you know, for his all his problems, he still found ways to do good things. But this is 42-year-old Jan Blachowicz coming off of a shoulder injury and a loss to Alex Pereira and what should have been a loss to Magomed Ankalaev. So, I think I got to go with Ulberg in this, man. I don't think that, Ankalaev, that Blachowicz is just going to be the same fighter after this. Then again, you mentioned like the way that Ulberg is walking around the cage and stuff, he's susceptible to the low kicks. And one thing we know about Blachowicz, he likes to smash in your shins.
Hmm. Yeah. So like on the Blachowicz side, like you said, he does that weird. He has a really weird outside low kick that he'll use in open stance matchups, and he uses that like as a like when opponent starts to hand fight with him, he'll use
Hmm.
that as a trigger to use his outside low kick, and it's actually really effective.
He's
He did it against Izzy multiple times. Like when Izzy, because you know how Izzy, like when he goes southpaw, he'll
uh-huh,
often reach his hand on the opponent's hand, and like whenever he did that, like it deep, like when he threw that step up outside low kick on Izzy's
uh-huh,
lead leg, it would completely debase Izzy.
right,
So now that's actually now Olberg, he doesn't switch as much as Izzy does,
right.
but the fact that his lead leg is always towed in when he's in range, that's just right for the low kick.
Hey, Val's in here. What's up,
Hey,
Val?
what's up, Val?
Whoa, big Val in the house. Val broke freaking Bo Nickel news. He's a real MMA. Val, you should stick around because we're going to talk mad trash about you later about MMA media in a second here. But yeah, he does. He's so tricky. It's weird how tricky Jan Blachowicz is because he doesn't look like a good fighter when you're watching him mechanically fight. You're like, oh, this dude's just like, oh, he said valid. This dude's like, he's kind of but at the same time, he wins fights and destroys shins. So I'm like, maybe he's doing something. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so here's another thing that could give Blachowicz trouble is that he has a tendency to parry straight shots,
Yeah,
which you know who does a lot, right?
yeah, yeah,
Strickland.
yeah,
Sean Strickland does that a lot, and
yeah.
Alex Pereira used the hook off the jab on him,
The
right?
old Joe Frazier, baby, popping up.
So yeah, and that the way that uh Bakovic like parries straight shots, that plays into Olberg's best weapon because a thing that the city kickboxing boys do that they do really well is they punch the hand because
Yeah,
they punch the hand to get reactions. And what's weird is with Izzy, he's looking for a specific reaction, right?
right,
He's looking for the like large parry, but he doesn't have like the big left hook that comes behind it,
right.
right? And his question mark kick still has to go over the top of that rear shoulder, which kind of tricky, right?
Yeah, very.
Yeah, especially if they parry high, it's not going to go through like what Strickland does. So I think that's like in the when you watch Adesanya versus Blokovic, I mean, he was like Joe Rogan was saying, eating the feints, even though that's not really a real term. I mean, he was biting on feints, but problem with problem with Adesanya is he can't actually capitalize unless they're standing still. If you notice with Adesanya, they need to be standing still and they need to be swiping at things for him to like just pick away.
Right,
With Olberg, he can capitalize on people like when they're moving around. And that
right,
I think that's what Blokovic was doing well against Adesanya. Like even though he'd react like badly, he'd still be moving around.
right, right, right.
Like he'd spaz out, and Adesanya can't really capitalize on that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's
So
true.
yeah,
Huh, that's an interesting take. I gotta go back and rewatch some Oldberg. I've been meaning to do just a watch through on him just to see what he's about because
right.
I'm the type where y'all guys y'all pick it up as y'all watching. I do more after the fact analysis. Y'all do more scouting. Um, but like it takes me a watch or two to kind of to figure it out. But I don't know. What does your gut say? Because I feel like a lot of people are picking Carlos Ulberg simply because they want him to be the next guy. Um, and
Well,
if
you
this,
know me, I don't make picks, so
yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, my gut says Ulberg, but I'm not picking him because he wants to, or because I want to see Carlos Ulberg versus um uh Pereira and Ankalaev. I want to see I think Carl Zulberg is just because of the age of Jan Blachowicz, and I think that's going to play a big part into it.
yeah. And another thing about Jan is, or yeah, another thing about him is he actually doesn't counter kicks well.
Yeah,
And
he ate a lot. You're right. He eats a
yeah,
lot of kicks.
he doesn't counter kicks well. And the thing that I will give him credit for in the Adesanya fight is he checked a lot of kicks, which is good. But he didn't return a lot of. He didn't return like usually when you check a kick, you return with counter combinations.
Right.
Usually, when he checks kicks, like I mean, it looks like Izzy was the one getting hurt, which was funny,
That's what he's just tougher than everybody. That's his thing, kind of.
right? But yeah, he relies a lot on checks, and he doesn't fire back when he takes the kick. And with Izzy, there's sometimes when like he'll take the kick and he'll be completely off balance.
Right.
Well, Olberg, I don't think his kicks are as great as Adesanya's.
No.
They're not as sharp. Where like the moment he lands the kick, he's moving away. He doesn't do that. Like more of like a small poke for him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Than it, than it is like a sharp one like what Adesanya does.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's another. I would try to use those reactions against Jan,
Hmm.
right? Try to
Right.
doing like make the right reads instead of just throwing out the jab out there, right?
I think you're asking for a bit much there, buddy.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, I don't know because this like I can see both like I can see how either of them can win this.
Yeah.
Like, so here's the question I have for you. Like, do you think Blokovic can effectively put Olberg on the fence instead of playing with him at like he did with Adesanya?
No, I do not think he can do that. I don't rate Blachowicz' footwork very highly. I don't rate his cage awareness very highly. If you want to be honest, that's what kind of killed him against Glover Teixeira. So
Right.
for him to have the wherewithal, unless he's literally taken up Ukrainian ballet for the last 2 years, which I highly doubt, um, I don't see him being able to reliably do that. That's not to say I don't see him reliably with a path to victory. I think again, if he can smash Ulberg's legs to where Ulberg's life is miserable, we can see that. Um, you know, punishing the open side when Ulberg switches. I think that's a good path for him. We saw him do that against. I mean, that probably a performance of a lifetime for Jan Blachowicz, but the Dominic Reyes fight,
Yeah.
he punished that. And I just again, I keep going back to the age, man. I'm like 42. That's that's basically like a foot in the grave in fighting, in fist fighting.
But it's also light heavyweight,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
40.
And it's the oldest champion ever. Glover Teixeira won at light heavyweight. Won his title at light heavyweight. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
So like, I
Yeah,
think Jan's a weird enough fighter to like really confuse Olberg.
yeah. That's it. And then like Ulberg throws like a kick and smashes his shin. He's like, "What the heck just happened?" Looking around, like trying to figure out what went on. Like it don't take many. It doesn't. And Jan, he's very crafty. He's smart. We saw that with the Izzy fight. He
Mhm.
has good ideas. He just executes them in the most peculiar way imaginable. He neutralized Alex Pereira's onslaught. Even though that was at elevation, like he neutralized it. Only
I
person
think
we've seen do that is Ankalaev.
right, and I think Jack Slack said this one time on the Boycast. He said that he's Jan Blachowicz is like Sean Strickland if he was good.
Oh, that's right. That's 100% right. Oh my god, I love that.
So
I
like
love that.
if we think about it that way, like the stuff that the stuff that Olberg does like matches up well with Blachowicz, right? But by taking away his jab, he might actually have a hard time landing that lead hook.
I'm mad that that's so accurate, dude. That's hilarious. I don't remember hearing that one from Jack. I'm a boy.
Yeah, I remember him saying he. Now that I think about it, Jan Blachowicz is
Uh-huh.
Sean Strickland if he was good.
That's hilarious. I love that. Oh my god. Yeah, I love it. So let's shift gears a little bit here since first of all, I respect the fact that you stick to your guns. Like, I'm not making picks. I don't make picks. I
Yeah, I
love
don't
that
make
about
this.
you. I
Yeah,
love that about you. Because picks open you up to be wrong. And I'm like, I'm making picks because I'm dumb. And it kind of it goes into our next kind of topic we wanted to
Mhm.
talk about, and that is the state of MMA media. And you mentioned content creators, and I found that you threw that in there, and that was interesting to me because I don't like if somebody comes at me for saying something dumb on Twitter X or whatever. Like, oh look, MMA journalist being dumb again. I'm like, I'm not a journalist. I don't journal. I'm not that. I'm a content creator because I don't want to have to rely on access. Jack Slack actually was one of the first people that said that, and I was trying to be a journalist. I was like, that makes sense. I really don't think I want to get in bed with Ali Abdulaziz, which is the holy grail of fight promotion, or people who have fighters, right? So. Your thoughts? You wanted to talk about this, so like, give me your thoughts on this topic, man. MMA media and content creation.
So let's rewind a bit because about the picks thing, because I think this relates to MMA media and content creation, like the state of it. So one of the reasons why I don't make picks, not just because I don't want to be wrong, is because I feel like when you make a pick, like your analysis becomes biased to that pick, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a
Right.
that's a very good point. I never thought about that.
Right. So I know Dan Tom, he makes a lot of picks, but he's often like a guy that I look up to, and he's often looking at both sides, and I want to just look at both sides. So
Right, right.
that's why I like to do the no picks thing.
I
And
love it.
now how that relates to content creation in MMA media is people think that if you make the right picks, you're somehow better than other people.
I love
Am I right? That's usually what like when a MMA media guy that's not an analyst gets a pick, right? Like it's like
it.
the greatest thing in the world for them,
Gotti the Greek.
right? So or it's the worst thing in the world for them.
Right.
So that's something that like plays into the toxicity of our space. I
Yeah.
mean, well, I'm guilty of it because I make fun of that pound for pound nerd all the time for making idiotic picks.
That's your hobby though, man.
Yeah,
Get
but
on
yeah,
it with
yeah.
your
So like you mentioned earlier, like not every analysis like there's
Hmm.
quality guys out there, like journalists, like Val in the chat for one. Like shout out to Val, who's actually like doing good stuff, like interviewing people with not paying them to like blow smoke up your ass, right?
Patty
So like
Pimble asked
there's
me to pay him once.
oh
I told him
gosh.
no. I was like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah, but there's quality guys that are like legitimate journalists. Like shout out to Drake Riggs and Aaron Bronstetter,
The
and
Kings.
somebody you might not know, Chris Presnell. He covers Asian MMA specifically.
I've seen
Don't
him
think
around.
he's an actual. Oh, you've seen him around. He's
Yeah.
not an actual. He's not. I mean, he did attend Road to UFC, but I wouldn't consider him like as a full time media member. He's more of a content creator for Asian MMA.
Okay.
So, but yeah, there's guys like that you can respect and that have nuanced takes on things. But yeah, like I feel like today's like MMA media and content creation is like more geared towards engagement bait. I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, I feel like these journalists want to be content creators, and they got their feet in both buckets. I guess you would say they got their feet on both sides of the door. Like, hey, I'm gonna be a content creator, but I'm also gonna be a journalist, and you can't be both. A content creator is unethical by journalistic standards.
That's interesting.
It
Because
is unethical by journalists. Well, and the reason I say that is, like, for example, let's talk about Ariel Helwani for a second. The best. Um, I'll give Helwani his credit. He's made a massive, huge platform, and then he's restarting it again with Uncrowned. I think that's fantastic. Helwani wants to be a journalist, but he also wants to be a content creator. And I got bad news for Ariel Helwani. He's not a journalist. Ariel Helwani is a content creator through and through.
so
I
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So you mentioned that you can't be a content creator and a journalist, but one of the like so I've had this discussion with Drake before.
Hmm.
Like is it like I'm gonna ask you is do you consider interviewing people as content creation? Because
Yeah,
Drake's a legit journalist and he considers interview content creation.
it
So
is. It is, but also it depends on how you're going to present it. I feel like
mhm.
if you're presenting it on, like, hey, I'm telling this fighter story. So when I do interviews, or when I did a lot of interviews, I viewed it as a journalist thing, to where I'm like, hey, I want to tell this fighter's story. I want to get to see how their camp has been, this, that, and the other. And I want to do it to get their name out there. I did it for them. I didn't make a. I'm not gonna say I didn't make a dollar off of that. I worked for a couple websites for interviews, but like on my website, I didn't make a buck on that. I'm like, I just like telling these fighters stories. Now, Nina Drama does fighter interviews.
Yeah, yeah.
Is what Nina Drama does the same as what Drake Riggs does?
No, see that's a good point.
They're both doing interviews. They're both the same thing. It's not about what you're doing, because I can go out there. I do jujitsu every day. That doesn't make me a professional fighter. I'm not like I'm. I'm not good at all, Bo. But I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing it for fun, for exercise, and I'm doing it to learn about what I talk about. Gordon Ryan is a professional athlete that also does content creation, but we can ignore that for a second. Nina Drama and Drake Riggs don't do the same thing.
No, I can't believe we're talking about them in the same breath too.
Right. But it makes so much sense, doesn't it?
Mhm,
Because what they're both doing is called interviewing. But
mhm.
what Nina Drama's goal is to get a viral clip, get her name out there, her platform out there, and fighters come to her platform.
Right. I think that's the distinction right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Again, we got to send this clip to Drake. Like, Drake and Nina do the same thing, technically, interviews. He's going to get a kick out of that.
but I think that because when I talked to Drake about this, he
Uh huh.
said that yeah, interviews are content creation, but it's also like like you said, it's the type of interviews, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you would still put interviews in the content creation like mold,
Hmm.
but they're not all interviews are the same. So like
Yes.
there's journalistic interviews and there's the Nina drama interviews, which I'm not really sure what you would classify that as.
Content.
Yeah, content.
It's
Yeah,
content.
it's
That's what it
content.
is.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think that I and like one is for clicks and one is for like actually getting a story out there, right? Or
Uh,
like telling the fighter story.
yeah. So this is going to be a broad stroke, and a lot of people are going to struggle with this thought.
Mhm.
If you're worried about how many people view your work and you're optimizing for it, so that's the qualifier, and you're optimizing for it, you're creating content.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did an article, a giant article called Mike Tyson Facing a Giant. And the idea was to see what it was like to fight Mike Tyson from these fighters' points of views. So I did you know, Jose Ribalta, I did Lou Arce, I did five interviews with former Mike Tyson fighters. I didn't care if anybody saw that. Mike Tyson, I know he's not the best boxer ever. He's my favorite boxer of all time, just because of the aura around him and how devastating he was. So I wanted to make a really cool, fresh piece of content about Mike Tyson. And I know I'm not going to get in contact with Mike Tyson. He's one of the most famous people on the planet. So I was like, how can I make a piece of content? I guess how can I make an article about Mike Tyson and make it interesting? And that's what I came up with. And it worked because I didn't care how many people saw it. That was more of a journalist thing from my end because, like I said, I'm a content creator, but that was more of a journalist thing from what I did. I was like, I want to tell this story. I don't care who sees it. I'm not optimizing for this. I'm going to talk to the fighters, see what they had to say, and go on. Go to the next one. And it's a very fine line. It's really hard to define, really, what a content creator and a journalist do because they kind of both wear same hat, similar hats. But I think if you're if obviously if you make an article, you want people to read it. Val he does his work. He wants people to see it. The Bo Nickel thing, he announced Bo Nickel's next fight coming up. But if you're optimizing for maximum thing, kind of like the new Bloody Elbow,
Oh
that's
yeah.
yeah, it's garbage. It's garbage. It's
Absolutely.
content creation. That's all that is.
Yeah. I think yeah, I think you're spot on there cuz I mean, what I've always like thought of is that good content regardless of regardless if you're trying to make it like seen or not,
Yeah,
it's going to get engagement if it's really good, right?
absolutely.
If it's something that you did well and you're proud of, it's gonna do really well.
Yes.
But I feel like the bloody elbow idiots, they do everything. They do like a lot of quantity stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like turn out as many articles as possible, and like
Yeah.
they're-
That's a
and
that's a soul that's a soulless existence, really, for
yeah,
me. I
they
can't
want
get
to.
behind it. But there's some people that like Nolan King. He loves it, bro. He's all about it.
Yeah, and I like that's not my cup of tea, to be honest, right?
Same.
Because
Same.
I want something like I want something I can learn from. Like I feel like the content creation today is more of just trying to get people to react to things, right?
Yeah, no. And there's good content creation and bad. So Val's in the chat comment. He said content creation and reporting has been an interesting battle for the community over the last few years. He says I kind of wish I wasn't just a content creator. I want to consider myself a journalist, to be honest, for several reasons, but I am. There's nothing wrong with being a journalist for sure. If you don't love it, you, I feel like a lot of content creators do have to start out in journalism though, because I did. I started out in I work for MMA Today, if you remember that MMA Sucker.
Mhm.
Um, I done my MMA News for forever. I've worked for Bloody Elbow. I've done a lot of them, and I did that. Now I don't have a real platform, guys. I really don't. But like, I did that to kind of navigate my way through the sport and figure out what I wanted to do. And honestly, I don't do it for money. I just do it because I enjoy making things.
Right, and I think that's like for like the analysis group, right? Our
Right.
analysis group. Oh,
That's
hopefully we
Val's
don't
name,
get
by the way. Val came up with
Hopefully
that.
we
Shout
don't
out
get
to
canceled
Val.
for that. But yeah, like we do things that like we do things that inform or entertain, right? Like
Right.
that's something Jack Slack always said. If you're not doing something that's informing or entertaining, you're not doing your job. Like
No,
I don't know if you agree with that,
I agree
but like
100%. Actually,
like
you know what? I don't agree with it 100%. 90%. Okay. So
really,
I don't do this for a living. I do this because I enjoy it. All right. And if I make a piece of content that, like, I talked about Kenshiro Taraji the other day, and it's got like 50 views on YouTube, which is not a lot, but I enjoyed talking about Kenshiro Taraji. You know, if what you do you're proud of, and very few people see it, you still made something you're proud of. You know, another one of my Fight Finders episodes, the LSU wrestling one. I was like, man, this is so much fun to make. I'm a Louisiana guy, so I've got a vested interest in this. I live in Baton Rouge. It's got a few hundred views on YouTube, which I don't care. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Um, yeah, I enjoyed getting to go hang out and getting wrestled by NCWA All American, and a Louisiana State champion. I just wanted to make something that I like. So if you, it just so happens a lot of what I do is entertaining for sure, but like I I just want to make stuff, man. So you know, I can agree with most of what that is, but there is a time and place for passion projects. I feel like.
yeah, and yeah, circling back, like the I think that do you agree that this is the era of rage bait? I think
Yeah. Oh
James
yeah.
told me this one time. Like this is the era of it used to be like in 2015 to 2018 or whatever it was. That
Hmm.
was like the hot take era, right?
The what? The
That,
hot take era?
yeah, the hot
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
era where
Yeah.
you try to say some weird thing and then people like react to it. Now it's the rage bait era where you say something completely crazy, right?
That's a social media thing too. I'm in some black hat social media groups, just kind of poking my nose around to see what they're talking about because I want to understand why certain things go viral. And like on Facebook, they'll say a statement that is mostly correct, and like for example, somebody in a Facebook group the other day said Hurricane Katrina happened on this day such and such years ago, but Hurricane Katrina happened in August, not March. It's not even hurricane season. And the comments were just rolled down the line because it was like, no, it didn't happen, and it didn't happen on this day. What are you even talking about? You don't even live here. You're probably a Russian, blah 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 blah. And it worked. So many people saw it. You know, it's a weird space, and it's like rage bait, and it's like just I got the month wrong. That's all it took.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so weird.
yeah. Like in the context of MMA, it's like uh what's a good rage bait thing? Like
So
oh,
I,
Michael Chandler's top 10 weaknesses, and then like
oh, that's so bad. That's a real article, probably.
no, and then none of them are actually his weaknesses.
No, no, it just wants you to click on it, man.
Yeah.
How is Michael Chandler going to lose to Patty Pimblett? Why Patty Pimblett is going to dominate Michael Chandler?
Or
And that's actually not out of the question. I don't feel like either. I think it's a weird fight.
or
Yeah.
pretty much
So
anything Kenny Aoki does. I think we can say that here because
yeah,
we're not giving him money on Twitter.
yeah, for sure. Him. There's Ruben Carter. There's Crazy Kev. Like all those guys, they just throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping something sticks, or they're just saying something mad and like crazy. Like let's have an honest discussion. John Jones was never that good. Oh God,
Oh
what?
yeah, like
Like what? I get we don't like John Jones because he's a POS and he's not as good as he once was because he's almost 40. But let's not deny how great John Jones was for two generations of fighters, at least the DC era, and this fourth era he's in, probably you could call it. So we can't. Yeah, this. I'm getting off on a tangent.
but see that's the thing. Like you mentioned earlier, like changing like that one date on that Hurricane Katrina thing, like it caused like a viral
Yeah,
viral response. That thing that you just mentioned, like, oh, John Jones wasn't really that good.
that's what that
That
is.
creates viral responses, right?
That's what it creates comments, and comments gets the algorithm going, baby.
Yeah. And now, do you think now this is what I've always like I've I've never understood like how come like something like what Ryan Wagner did the Shavkat article.
Uh huh.
Now that's
Amazing.
amazing. That is quality content where he makes a flow chart of
That was
Shavkat.
incredible.
Yeah. Now, how does that not go viral?
It's, it's how he presented it,
Do you
and
think?
I'm not saying Ryan presented it wrong. Um, Ryan didn't present that article in a way that the internet gets to know things. Because like a flow chart for somebody's grappling is like incredible. Like that's brilliant. We used to do flow charts in like middle school. What? This is crazy. So it's probably one of the top five best pieces of fighting content I've ever seen. Like that's how
Yeah.
much I thought of that article, man, or that work. That's not even an article, really. That's a whole ecosystem of things. But here's the thing: that article will stand the test of time compared to Michael Chandler's top 10 weaknesses that are, you know, not weaknesses. Like nobody's gonna click on that in 20 years. It's gonna get buried by the next thing. Like so, I like to look at trends. I'm gonna give away one of my like secrets here. Like I like to look at trends of where technology and the future of this space is going because I just want to know it. I'm a nerd. AI is the future. Okay, and I'm not talking like AI to write my articles. I've got, let me undo this real quick, Ghost. I've got all these books right here, all of those that I like to talk about in my videos. Okay. Do you think I remember every single story from those books I've ever read?
Probably not.
No, I do remember one time Muhammad Ali um, was told to not fight and go fight Joe Frazier instead, but he said, "No, if I can't beat this guy, I can't beat Joe Frazier. I'm sure not ready for him." So what I do, I'll plug the book into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, where's that story of this, that, or the other?" And it'll pull it up for me. Another thing, AI is really kind of changing the game. I think it's killing Google, unfortunately, because we're on YouTube and we say nice things about Google on YouTube, right, Ghost?
Right.
Uh, but like these AI searches are starting to search the internet, and it might find Michael Chandler's 10 biggest weaknesses, but it's going to say, "Hey, wait a minute." These AIs, they can reason. It's going to be like being able to throw a strong overhand right and being very tough is not a weakness, so let's throw it out to the side. But if somebody says, "Hey, what made like in 10 years time, what made Shavkat Rakhmonov so good?" It's going to find Ryan's article because it's probably the best piece of content out on there. It's going to be like, "Oh, this is what it is." It's going to refer people to that article. So if you've used AI, it'll refer you to website links now. That'll become more and more relevant in the future. I feel like.
Mhm. Now we talk about trends, right?
Hmm.
Do you think it's like this era specifically, like the post-COVID era, right?
Oof.
Where
Yeah.
we're in, right? Do you think that it's more about digestible content in general that gets the clicks?
Uh. Yeah. So there's a battle between um TikTok, which is like no, it's not even TikTok. It's Vine. Vine had 15-second videos, and it kind of started the whole short content era. And websites that prioritize user duration, like, hey, structure your article like this so people stay on our thing longer. It's like I don't want to see all this preliminary stuff talking about the past. I want to know what Patty Pimblett said to Ilya Tapor when he dapped him off today. Like, what is that? Where is that? So, like, AI is going to give us those answers like that. Like, hey, if you notice, like, at the top of Google's, you get AI summaries now. Um, I think you're spot on, though. Like, they want it to be digestible, easy. Because, like, I mean, if I'm going to, drop a deuce in the bathroom at work, I'm going to scroll YouTube Shorts or whatever for a couple minutes and then get back to work. I'm not going to sit here and read Ryan's article for 30 minutes about why Shafkat's good. But if he makes a short or something about Shafkat and directs me to that article, like that's a very viable path to content creation.
Yeah, so let's like yeah. So back to that, like Miguel Class does a lot of like digestible things on
Yes,
Twitter, right?
probably the
So
best.
yeah. So how like do you think like if we like relate this to analysis,
Uh huh.
like do you think analysis is like a patient work type thing?
Yeah,
Then it
yeah,
is like because like I know Miguel does a great job doing digestible content, and same with open note grappling,
yeah.
like with articles, because those articles are really concise and there's a lot of information in them. But do
Ye-
you think what was that?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just agreeing.
Yeah, yeah. So do you think that like because let's be honest, like the work that analysis does, like the stuff that we put out there, it's underappreciated. Like no matter who does it.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
think it's because it's a patient like you really got to like dig deep and understand what's going on to get into analysis itself?
I don't think so. Y'all are way better analysis than I am, and I still have fairly decent digestible stuff. My work in theory is to make something more digestible because I've actually thought about this a lot. Make something more digestible. It's about how you present it.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of why the threads on Twitter did so well. Because it's like, hey, you got so many characters and you got a picture to go with it, or you got a GIF. So like making things as seamless as possible to understand and to comprehend. Like I think Slack's probably the best at making long form content digestible, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
uh
I agree with that.
because if you go look at his articles on Fight Primer and his boy stuff, that sounded really weird, boy stuff, boy like the Patreon stuff. But
No, yeah.
if you go look at it, like compare it to, say, for example, I model a lot of my articles after what he does, but if you go look at his, like, he's not very wordy.
Yeah, like it's to the point.
He's to the point, even when he's going through, let's see, a new look for Yuri Prohaska. I'm pulling it up now. Like, even when he's got his diagrams here, like the first diagram on that article doesn't even have words underneath it. Instead, he put a GIF under it, kind of illustrating his point again. And it is two sentences after that. On offense, he primarily shifted to southpaw, throwing the long straight, falling forwards. It was the classic Poirier shift we examined at length in Advanced Striking 2.0 Dustin Poirier. That's all he said about it. Like, I get very wordy. I'm like, all right, look, see, A, Jamal throws a jab here, and B, look, Yuri's leaning away. C, he's standing in the pocket. D, I explain everything. And like, I forget oftentimes, like, the reader can, if they're here because they want to read like my Juto Nakatani article, they're here because they know it's a breakdown and they have a small grasp of it. And I think that's something that Jack Slack's the best at, because like I'm looking through this Jiri Prohaska article and it's like not 1,000 words long. It might be 1,000 words long, but it's got the emphasis is on the illustrations and not the words itself.
All right, now yeah, so let's bring that to like a different type of content creation. Like you said it's important to present things in a good way,
Yes.
right? So like what do you think of MMA on point? Because their stuff is like, in my opinion, is like absolute garbage right now. Like it's like they have like neat thumbnails, they have top 10 lists, they have things that not many MMA media goes over, but the stuff that they go over like right now is like utter garbage if you think about it.
Let's see. I'm
Like
going to their. Are you talking about their website or their videos?
their videos. I'm
Okay,
probably gonna
so
get a lot of flack for that, but
no, okay. So I think MMA on Point is an interesting case. I think they do a lot of things right, uh, but then I think they also put out a lot of slop, apex slop. you know, I what was? Let me go to their popular videos. Let's see what they have recently.
like I'll give
Um,
you an example. Well, not an example like
mhm,
specifically, but like what they did. Like the top 5 lists, like they do.
yeah,
That's an idea that they did not come up with, but they
no,
used that idea and made it into they made it more digestible, and now it's doing better than the original. I'm not going to name names of like how that how
No, no, that's a common thing too. A lot of people do that. It's called elevator
yeah
pitching. Basically, oh, look at this content. That's a good idea that wasn't executed properly. Watch me do it better. And that's been around since blogs have been around. Honestly, I don't think we'll ever get away from that. Not anytime soon, at least. I thought MMA on Point used to do some like video documentaries and stuff that were pretty decent, and some like video essays. I can't find it. Maybe they are just a slop now,
yeah they
sadly.
are. Like it feels like what they do now is like what we used to do on Threads, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Um,
It's top lists that about like the most nonsensical thing.
yeah, yeah. I feel that. I
Like
think so
besides the
too.
times champions lost. Like what are you like what?
That's not my cup of tea either, buddy. But I think that's more of a changing of the times. They have to pay their people because on Point isn't that McMalley and stuff too? They got their podcast on there.
Yeah, yeah. Not sure. But yeah, they're not. I mean, I think Val mentioned it here. They made one really good investigative piece into one championship hydration testing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with that. I
yeah.
agree with
That
that.
was a very
That
good
was really
piece.
was yeah, that was a good piece.
That was
But
a
like
very good
ever
piece.
since it's like lists and like just nonsense.
Yeah, and part of it is like the you gotta really get into like the YouTube algorithm and stuff. Yeah, like Tim most disputed UFC title fights. That's that. I'm sick of this. Like that has 400,000 views, and it's Sean Strickland. He's calling Sean Strickland porn, basically. I'm going through some more stuff here, like their big stuff. Top 10 MMA betrayals. Like it's just the Mr. Beastification of MMA is what this is.
I think that's the
Uh,
perfect way of putting it,
yeah.
Mr.
And what Mr. Beef is
Beast.
doing is good. You know, he's not doing bad stuff. The prophecy. All right, so here's something like let's compare these two. I am 2 months back. So top 10 biggest MMA betrayals has 380,000 views. They've got this prophecy of Roy McDonald and the downfall of Canadian MMA. I haven't watched it, but it seems a little different. And it seems like they put a decent amount of work into making this video. It's 38 minutes long, 178,000, half the views. Like the cool stuff's not getting views, and they're expanded to like a big area, and they got to pay people. You know, they got video editors, this, that, and the other, so they have to make this slop to pay their people, which really sucks. Like top 10 biggest one hit wonders in MMA. Like, you know, that's interesting for a minute, but not 25 minutes. But then you got the Roy McDonald or the one championship investigative piece, and it was like, yeah, those don't really find home. Just came across this, and I wanted to actually drop in and say my cousin is actually Sean Brady. Casey's cousin is Sean Brady. That's cool. I got bad news for you, Casey. I think me and Ghost both, or Ghost don't pick, but I picked Leon to win. I hope your cousin does well though. I wouldn't be mad if Sean Brady won and we got new blood at the top of more new blood at the top of welterweight for sure. Not to be disrespectful or anything to your cuz.
So like let's try to wrap this up, but
Yeah,
what
for
do you
sure.
think is the future of MMA content creation and MMA media? Like, do you think we're heading in a really bad direction right now?
Nah, I don't think it's bad. I think it's different. It's going to be a lot different. But Dana White already told you what's going to happen. You know,
Yeah.
he said I can see a future where content creators on the front row, and we gave the media press box up somewhere where this, that, and the other. Your cousin is Flubber. Oh, Flubber was such a good movie. But yeah, we're going in the direction of content creation, my man. That's the end of things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
I don't like. Yeah.
journalism will be around. They'll still need to have stories told, but content creation is going to rule the day right now because content creation pays people.
Right. And one of the most annoying things about content creation is the clout chasing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, clout's so stupid.
Posting fake fight news to get likes and followers and no ramifications for it whatsoever.
No, because they just keep getting more followers. But guess what? All those guys crash out. All those guys crash out. Phil the MMA dude, Alex Cafidi, all those people, they all just eventually crash out if the clout chasers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, like
I
they
mean,
will because they know they're living a lie. They know they're lying for likes and digital hugs, like Kendrick Lamar says. Um, it's not real. It's not a real. You got to be ethical. Like this is like diving too deep metaphysically, but like living unethically is going to take a toll on your life. I think personally. So those people they're going to crash out, and guess what? Another one's going to come up and do the same thing, and you're going to still be mad about it. I'm gonna still be like, oh my god, here we go again. But they all eventually go away, and we get somebody new.
yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask that because as you know, I'm the new kid on the block, right? I
Yeah,
haven't been
you are.
doing this. I haven't been doing this that long, and I have a small following now, and I haven't had that for like I haven't had that for a while, like unlike you guys, right? So
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious about the direction like our space is headed.
make content and make stuff you enjoy. Otherwise, you'll burn out. Val said, "Wise words from me, my brother." Thank you. Yeah, just make stuff you like, man. That's my like. I started this in the absolute most casual way possible. I started writing about fights because of Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. You know, it doesn't get more casual than that. But guess what? Now I post videos of like Shrajal and Kurash and Dambe and just the most weird fight styles you can imagine. I make a documentary series about all this stuff because I think it's cool and I enjoy it. And that's what it's about, man. You just make stuff you're proud of. You got to be proud of it.
Mhm. Yeah, completely agree. Yeah,
Well,
man.
my man, this was cool, dude. This was a real fun conversation. I didn't. I had fun, and we're holy.
Went in the weeds, man.
Yeah, very. We're talking about enjoying what you do. Like we're supposed to talk about Leon Edwards, man. Come on. Everybody, thanks for coming by. Ghost, you're the man. Val, I love you, baby. Later, guys.
All right, later, guys.